Alright, how's everybody doing? If you guys are watching this, that means that you found it. You were able to get to the YouTube channel after you clicked on the link on Edmodo, and you're able to find this video. As I said in class, the way this will work is you will follow along, you will take notes. That's what I'll check. Make sure you have your notes. They don't have to be exactly like mine. You can kind of do it however you'd like, just like you would in class. But you're going to want to try the problems. You're going to want to work ahead. I won't always say, hey, pause it and look ahead, but it might be a good idea to try and work ahead if you think you understand something. So unlike in class where you get bored where we're still behind, you can go ahead and try something, fast forward to that spot, see if you got it right, and then if you didn't get it right, rewind and see what you might have done wrong. Don't forget you can rewind anytime you want. You can go back, replay it if you didn't understand something, write notes if you have questions for the next day. Remember, this is at home, so you're doing this at home or at school, wherever you're doing it. When you have time, then come with questions, come with answers, be able to explain what you did. So what we're going to do is we're going to work through some of these problems, and then we're going to work through more of them tomorrow in class, so you should have a good understanding of what we're going to be doing tomorrow when you come in. So if we look at number 1, this should all look familiar. It's all algebra. You notice it's day 3 notes. Okay, we're matching up what's exactly on the calendar. There weren't any day 1 or day 2, so you're not confused. We're going to look at all algebra stuff for the first week or so of class. If we look at number 1, it says evaluate. B equals negative 2, c to the 4th minus d. When c is negative 3, d is negative 54. What I taught my students in algebra was to always use parentheses when you plug in. That saves you mistakes with your negatives. So, we know that b doesn't have anything, keeping that the same. We have negative 2. In parentheses, c is negative 3 to the 4th minus negative 54. That's where the parentheses come in handy. Now, remember to follow your rules. PEMDAS, purple elephants marching down a street. Or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Whatever you learned it as, it's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So if we go ahead and look at this, we have parentheses, okay, so we can take care of those if we want. We also have exponents, so there's nothing to be done inside either set of parentheses. There's no adding or subtracting going on. So what we'll do is we'll say b equals negative 2 times negative 3. If you're going to do this on your calculator, you need to make sure it's in parentheses, just like it's there. So negative 3 in parentheses to the 4th power, which gives you 81. Minus a negative means it's going to become plus 54. Okay. Now we're down to multiplication between negative 2 and 81. That comes before adding 81 plus 54. We cannot do that. So you have to multiply negative 2 times 81, which gives you negative 162. Go ahead and add 54. Okay. Last step. You should be able to do this in your head. You get negative 108. So hopefully that wasn't too hard. We're going to look at a couple more examples from algebra. Again, this should all look familiar. If it doesn't, please come see me, ask questions in class. Alright, solve. Anytime it says solve, you're solving for the variable. So we want to get this x by itself. When you're solving, you need to use reverse PEMDAS. So you need to move addition, subtraction first, and then work backwards. So the first thing we want to do here is move that 6. Adding 6, subtracting 6, those cancel. If you do it to one side, you have to do it to the other. So we're left with 1/4 x equals 7. All we have to do now is get that x by itself, this guy here. What we want to do, 1/4 and x are multiplying right now. So what we want to do is divide. But if you remember, you can't divide a fraction. Instead, what you do is you multiply by the reciprocal on both sides. Those cancel. Multiply this side by 4 over 1, or 4 if you want to think of it like that. X equals 28. There's your answer. You can plug 28 back in. You'd have 1/4 times 28 is 7, plus 6 equals 13. So you know you did it right. Okay. We look at another one, number 3. Now we have a little bit more going on. We have x's on both sides. Okay, so simplify first. Simplify to start it. Get rid of these parentheses. We never want to work with these parentheses. So to distribute, you need to multiply the outside number to both inside terms. So we have 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times negative 14 is negative 28. Equals, same thing on this side, 6 times x is 6x. 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. Make sure you're using both terms. Okay? Now what you can do here is, let's start out by moving 28 to both sides. You have a lot of options. You can do different ways. So add 28 to both sides. Cancels on the left. You're left with 6x equals 6x plus 4. You might see what's going to happen here in a second. Okay, let's get these x's on both sides. 6x, to get rid of a positive 6x, I'm going to subtract 6x. They cancel on the right. They also cancel on the left. So you're left with 0x equals 4. Okay, so what that means is that's never true, or there's not even really an x there. It's 0. 0 equals 4. Is that ever possible? No. You're thinking in your head, no, you can't have 0 equals 4. They're two different numbers. So if you remember back to algebra, your answer here would be no solution. If you're thinking about it on a graph, it would never intersect, if you want to think of it like that. Okay, so moving right along. Remember, if you are confused, you're not sure, or went too fast, go ahead, rewind it, and play it again. There's nothing that says you can't do that. Let's look at number 4. Okay, let's get rid of those parentheses. So I'm going to distribute. 2 times 4x is 8x. And as you just heard, that was the PA system. You might hear a PA system going on, or if I'm doing it at home, you might hear my dogs. Sorry. So, 2 times 4x is 8x. 2 times negative 11 is negative 22. Then we had the plus 4 on the outside, equals 54. I like to combine everything on the left side first before moving it. So negative 22 plus 4 would give me negative 18 equals 54. We're trying to get x by itself. Add 18 to both sides. 8x equals, let's see, 72. Divide both sides by 8. If x equals 9. Again, plug it back in. You would get a true equation. Alright, so what we want to look at next are system of equations. That's where you have, if you want to think about it graphically, you have your x-axis, your y-axis, and you have one line, and then somewhere else you have another line that intersects, and you're looking for this intersection point. Or if there is one, sometimes you might have infinitely many solutions, sometimes you might have no solution, and then obviously you could have one solution. Okay, this is one of the biggest topics you guys worked on in Algebra 1, and if you were in my class, I told you that you needed to know systems, factoring, and radicals for geometry. Those are the 3 main ones that you have to be able to do. So we're going to look at systems right now. We'll look at factoring and radicals later on. So, 2 ways to solve a system. You can do it either by substitution or by elimination or combination. Okay, the first one we do is substitution because it's set up in a good way to do it. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and use elimination when I do this next one. So, if we look at number 5, the reason I'm doing substitution is because I already have y by itself. Okay, so I don't have to do any work to get y by itself. I don't want to rearrange things and make it more difficult than I need to. Now what I'm going to do is take this y equals 2x minus 22. I'm going to take that entire equation and plug it in where I see a y. Okay, so it's really this part that you're plugging in, that 2x minus 22, where I see a y in the other one. It's substitution. You're substituting in for something else. Now I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the problem. 3x plus 2, and I'm going to make this easier to see. Here's your 2x minus 22 coming from that y equals 19. Okay, so 3x plus, you have to distribute, get rid of these parentheses, 4x minus 44 equals 19. Combine your like terms. I have a 7x, I have a 3x and a 4x, which gives me 7x. Okay, and then I'm going to add 44 to both sides to get 63. And then go ahead and divide by 7. X equals 9. Okay. That's not the entire answer. That's just one part. Remember, it's a point, so it's an x comma y. I just found x, I need to go find y now. The way to do that is to actually make a second step and go ahead and take that x and plug it into either one of the two equations that you started with. I'm going to plug it into the first one because if I plug in x, I'm going to get y right away. So I'm going to plug it in that first one, y equals 2x minus 22. I'm going to plug in y equals 2 times 9 minus 22. Y equals 18 minus 22. So y equals negative 4. Okay? So x is 9, y is negative 4, so my final answer would be 9, negative 4. That's where they intersect at on the x and y axis. Okay? Most of you probably preferred elimination. It usually works a little bit better, and to be honest, we'll probably use elimination a lot more in geometry than we will substitution. But you can do it either way. Both ways work just the same. This one is set up very nicely to use elimination. If you notice, the x, y's, and numbers are all lined up. Remember, you need to have it in ax plus by equals c form before you do anything with it. Okay? So what we'll do is we already have those. So what we want to do is either eliminate or combine x's or y's. So I'm going to pick right now. The x's don't cancel out, the y's don't cancel out. So what I need to do, and this is where you have options, I need to change one of the equations. So what I'm going to try and go for is eliminating the x's. So what I'll do here is say I'm going to multiply this top equation by 3 and this bottom equation by negative 4. And hopefully you remember this, hopefully you see where I'm going with it. What's going to happen now is those equations are actually going to change to, if I distribute that 3 into everything, I'm going to get 12x minus 18y equals negative 150. Same thing on the bottom, distribute that negative 4 in everywhere. I'm going to get negative 12x plus, or excuse me, minus 16y equals negative 88. Okay, so what we want to do is add all of these up straight down. 12x plus negative 12x, those cancel. We want that to happen, so we know we're doing it right. We have negative 18y plus negative 16y. In other words, you're taking negative 18y minus 16 more to get negative 34y equals negative 150 minus 88 is going to give you negative 238. Let's see, 238 divided by 34. They're both negatives. It's going to give you y is 7. Okay, that's one part. Remember, you're not done. Second part, plug that 7 into any of these 4 equations. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 options. I would always go with the one with the smallest numbers, and if you can, avoid negatives. That's just kind of an easy rule to stay by. It doesn't matter, but it typically makes it easier. So I'm going to use that second one. I'm going to use this one here to plug it back in. So we have 3x plus 4, here comes my y that I just found, equals 22. 3x plus 28 equals 22. 3x, oops, we gotta get rid of that 28 first. 3x minus 28, those cancel, minus 28. So 3x equals negative 6. Divide both sides by 3, and you get negative 2. Final answer then is negative 2, 7. Okay, that's where they intersect on the graph. So if you looked, you might have some sort of graph that looks like this, and they intersect at, let's say, 2, negative 7 would be somewhere around here. So maybe these lines look like that. Okay. So that's everything for the first day. We're going to go over some more problems tomorrow in class. Make sure you bring questions. This video is a little bit longer. Typically they'll be 10 to 15 minutes. Obviously I explained some stuff to you guys at the beginning and went slower as we went through it, but feel free again to pause as we go through it, go back, rewind, rewatch. If you want to rewatch this video once the day before the test comes, whatever you want to do, you can do this all year long. This is your tool. Use it how you need to, but make sure that you have notes when you come into class. That's your homework. I'm going to be checking your notes to see if you did do this.